Hey y'all, it's Emily here, back with another video, and it's been a while since I've done a video, but let's just jump right into what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going over all of the rules to a new challenge that we're going to be starting here. So basically, we're going to be starting the Western Decades Challenge, and we're going to be starting this in kind of the 1850s, but really we're going to be starting in 1849, and once we start playing and getting through some of the episodes, you guys will understand why we're starting in 1849, because let's just get right into it. So trust me, you will understand why we're starting in 1849 and not 1850. So to start out with, we're going to be doing some disclaimers. We're going to be playing through a lot of different time periods, from 1850s all the way up to now, present day. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of death rolls, and I cannot express this enough, which is why I have it in bold. If you do not want to play with death rolls, you do not have to. I will say that one more time. If you do not want to play with death rolls and killing any of your Sims, you do not have to do that, okay? It is just the way that I like to play. It gets Sims out of the house that you just don't have space for, which is awful to say, but it's true. But another disclaimer is that we're going to be playing with some touchy subjects. In the next episode, you guys will understand what the touchy subject is, but we're going to be playing a lot of discrimination, or with a lot of discrimination against gender, race, religion, and so forth. And if this is a little wobbly, it's because I'm doing it while I'm in bed, because I decided that I was just going to redo this video, because when I was editing it, it was way too long. It was like, I want to say almost an hour and a half of me talking through all of the rules, and I was like, I'm not editing that. So like the first disclaimer section, you guys will get a whole link to all of the things I'm going to be talking about in this video, but this part right here, the first time that I did it, it was like 15 minutes, and right now it's only like 3. So next is the spreadsheet, and let me just jump right over to it really quick. I'm not going to be talking about it all throughout the entire thing. It's really not that complicated, but basically I used kind of the spreadsheet that Morbid Gamer did, in a way. So obviously over here we have the days of the week, and it's separated into the years, which the years are in this column. And then we have the infants, babies, toddlers, so on. And then we also have the notes. But another thing that I did end up changing is the events page. So right here is the most helpful thing that I will ever probably do in this challenge, is this events tab. So the first couple of times that I was using the spreadsheet to use in decades and like ultimate decades and all the way through all of these different decades that I've done, the one thing that I wanted the most was like a decades and an events tab to tell me when wars started, when plagues, when different things happened that I needed to know and that I was going to be playing with. So I added this little events tab over here instead of having to put it in the notes or something like that. So you'll see throughout the entire thing, there's different tabs and everything like that. And then another thing that I added, which is not really me adding, is the death rolls, and I only added this once, so I might add it again towards the end, but I added a death roll thing, which I changed up a bit, and we'll talk about when we get to that point. So we're going to just skip over this. If you guys want to, I will put the link again. I'll say this again. I'll put the link down below. But you don't have to use a spreadsheet if you don't want to. So going down, gameplay and aging up. If you look at the spreadsheet, let's go back here. You'll notice that I took out, aging, death rolls for child, teen, young adult, and adult. And the reason why I did that is because, there's going to be a lot of wars, and I want to be able to play throughout the children's life stage anyways, and there's like a little bit of aging that I'm going to tell you about that. But for teens and adults and young adults, I took their death rolls out because I feel like if you have death rolls upon them going to war, it's just going to be too much, and I don't want you to have to be like, oh shoot, I have to go into my side household on generation 2 or 3 because my main generation, like, died, or my main household died because of the wars, and I don't want that to happen. So I took their aging out, and child age, I took theirs out because, I'm not playing with CC and all of that, so the only ways that you can have a child die in Sims is if you catch them on fire, if they drowned, and I'm not trying to catch the entire household on fire, so I just took it out. And then, the rules. Now we get down to the rules and the nitty-gritties and all of that. So I've done a lot of research on, the decades and ultimate decades and all of these different decades that we're going to be playing through. So there's going to be a lot of rules throughout this whole thing, but the rules are only like 3 pages, where if you went to Morbid Gamers, hers are like 100 pages long. So we're just going to go through a couple of them. Okay, I'm going to briefly read and touch over this. So when I was playing through my first time, I wanted to have like so much to worry about than just starting a farm and just starting the family. So I made it into my own rules with the challenge. So the first time that you get your farm, in 1854, you're already having a plague on your farm. So you'll have to roll to see stuff with that. And there's a whole section that will tell you about the grasshopper plague, which is the plague on the farm. But then I also wanted to have like more storytelling with the townies. And so we have storytelling with the townies now. But the rules with this is that you must start with, your family must start in a different world than you plan on playing in. So, for example, my family is going to be starting in Ravenwood for like the first 2 years, and then moving my main person, like my heir, my generation 1, if you will call him, my first generation heir, to Chestnut Ridge. And then to have a little bit of background story rather than your main heir just being dropped in the world and being like, oh, let's just start off with him being here. No, your main character will have parents. So your main character must have parents of some sort, a mom, dad, grandparents, something, okay? Aunt, uncle, it doesn't matter. They just have to have something that they call a guardian. of sorts. And then another thing is that your starting family must have more than one kid. So 2, 3, like the minimum is 2, but you can have like 3 or 4. And you can, for like example, you can have a daughter and a son, or 2 daughters or 2 sons, etc. It doesn't really matter. Then you must move out of that world no more than 3 years, because if you stay in that world for more than 3 years, you'll be running into the grasshopper plague, and you'll just have to really scavenge and forage for your fruits and vegetables to start out your farm, and that's not what we want. Then keep in mind while you move, like where you're choosing to move to. This challenge is really based around farming and horses. You don't have to have the horse. You don't have to have I don't even remember the ranch one, but you don't have to have that pack, but it is very based around farming and horses and all of that. So also keep in mind that this lot that you choose is going to be for multiple generations. It's not going to be for just your first generation. You're going to have your second generation on there, and possibly even your third. But a 64 by 64 is the best, I would say, for this challenge, but it is not required. Like in multiple of the other the decades challenges, a 64 by 64 is like the required lot size, but in this one, it's not required. Like you can start on a 30 by 30 or a 20 by 20 if you really want to. But also keep in mind that your starting parents, the parents that are with your generation 1, are not counted as your generation 1. They're counted as generation 0. So my heir, George, he is counted as generation 1. He is not counted as generation 0. He's not counted as generation 2. He is counted as the person that you're following from that one. Holy crap. The sim that you start with is going to be your generation 1. He's not going to be your second generation or whatever. The next is when you get to Chestnut Ridge or wherever you're going, you'll be needing to meet the mayor before you buy your land. In Cosmic Hippies, I've done, okay, the 3 people that I really looked at with their rules and how they played were Cosmic Hippie, Morbid Gamer, and shoot, what's the last one? Coffee Girl, I think. I don't remember what the last one was, but I just got some of the rules from her page for like the Great Depression and the Roaring 20s and like a couple of the other ones. I didn't really watch her play. I just looked at how detailed her rules were, and they were very detailed, so I liked that. But basically in Cosmic Hippies, you had to befriend the evil banker, and in this one you're going to need to befriend the mayor before you get land. And then once you get 30% of the friendship with the mayor, you'll have to go to the land office to get your land, which is very common in the 1850s. Then you'll have to purchase, after you get the land and you get your farming and all of the essentials, you must set your funds to 1,000 and live off of that. But after you get your land and your farm's already on your land, you can go and get groceries, kind of, because it was very common that you would already get like some of the essentials with your land. So you can go to the grocery store and get groceries, but you can only get things that you plan on growing. And it's not like you can get the entire store's worth of stuff. You can only get like a couple of things here and there. And then you set your funds to 1,000 simoleons. If you have eco lifestyle, you must use the geothermal and natural well on your lots. As your lot trades. The last one's up to you. It doesn't really matter what the last trade is. The reason you'll have to do this is because going with storylines, you're gonna have to pay a lot of different taxes to live in California, which is Chestnut Ridge. Next, moving to a new town. You'll have to roll a D8 for the percentage of taxes that you will have to pay after every season. So, for example, if you get a 4 or a 6, like if you get a 4, it's 40%. If you get a 6, it's 60%. The reason for doing this is not only for the storytelling, but also for the money. In Sims, you make a lot of money growing things and making, grabbing honey from the honey box or whatever, the bee box. Like, you just make a lot of money really fast, and that's just not realistic to the time. So whatever you want to sell, like, say you want to tell your storyline with your Sims are poor coming from the west or something like that to the east to the west. You can do that. You just come up with random taxes that they'll have to pay, you know? You can only harvest once a week. Again, this is keeping down that money and keeping them as poor as possible. Suggestion, this is not mandatory or it's not something that you must do, but it is a suggestion to keep your calendar on a 14 or 28 calendar. It would be easier to work with throughout the challenge. And although the years don't keep up with the seasons, if you have seasons, it will give you a break from the holidays because you will definitely get holiday whiplash having it on 7-day season. Next, going with the calendar thing, you have to take, you must take Harvest Fest out of the calendar for, until the spreadsheet tells you to, which, let me see, is in 1863. And then you add it to the last Thursday of fall. What's another one? Oh, once winter comes, this is really based on the seasons and everything. So hopefully you do have seasons. Once winter comes, you'll have to trade all of your animals. Most people traded them back in for meat for the winter. You can keep like a chicken or two in the house during the winter, but you can't keep them in the coop, if that makes sense. You don't have to marry off every child, but if you do, you must deduct 1,000 simoleons out of your household funds, or you can trade 2 cows or 5 to 6 chickens, mini goats, or mini sheep, or any other animal that you have as a dowry for the women. But if you marry a son off, they will receive the dowry. You can't have any famous Sims, which we kind of broke that rule already a little bit, because we found a Judith Award, in the gallery, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we have to play with her. So that's the only famous sim that we have, but all the rest of them are not famous. So you can play with this, you can not, it's not really a thing that you have to do. You can have a job, but you need to choose like a job that is towards the time period. So like you can choose a gardener, a politician, a lawyer, manual labor, like something close, a fisherman, something like that, okay? If you choose not to have a job, there's multiple ways of getting money into your household. So you can do fishing, growing produce, painting, woodworking, making candles, like there's a whole bunch of different ways. Having animals, lots of different ways that you can do. Your sim can't go to any festival or event in the city, but they can go to any of the cottage living events. That's the only exception because that's close to the time period and kind of keeping it like vintagey. During pandemics or wars or any other event that has a dice roll for death, a dice will be provided. And then, by no means do you have to play with death rolls. I said that at the beginning, but you don't have to if you don't want to. If you're, cannot express this enough too. If you are playing with death rolls and your favorite sim ends up dying or getting a death roll that's die or like something like that, you do not have to kill them off. Like if your mindset is, oh my gosh, my favorite sim just rolled a death roll, like I don't even want to play anymore, like what's the point of playing? No. No. You did not just do all of that work and set up a whole little town and all of your sims and everything like that just to be like, oh, I'm not playing anymore. It has taken me about a month and a half to get this far. And I will not be, if my favorite sim dies, I might kill them off, I might not, okay? I just haven't gotten to that point, but it just really depends, okay? But you do not have to kill them off if you are not ready to kill them off or you do not want to kill them off, okay? Another thing too is if your sim gets a sick moodlet, which is very rare in my sims, do they get that? Which I probably should be knocking on wood now. But if your sim gets the sick moodlet, you can try to cure them by home remedies, but you may not use any of the medicines until the 1900s. Again, if you try to cure your sim and it fails by the time strikes 5 p.m. of the same day that they get sick, you must kill your sim. Example, if your sim gets sick at 12 p.m., then you have until 5 p.m. to try to cure them. If your sim gets sick after 5 p.m., you have until 5 a.m. to cure them. Example, if your sim gets sick at 7, you have until 5 a.m. to try to cure them. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, then you can shoot me a comment down below and I will try to re-explain it a little bit. But this is also on underneath so you guys can read it yourself too, and maybe that will make some sense too. You must always follow a male as your main heir until like 1950s, 1960s, somewhere around there. Then if you don't have a male heir, then you can follow your oldest daughter. And then you must have a trait that is, like when you're picking out traits for your sims, don't try to have them be like any of the traits down below right here. Try to have them be towards the time period. Like if they're modern, don't do it. Like green fields or a dance machine or recycling or vegetarian, like don't do those ones. I have the dance machine one for the saloon girls, but that's it. Like there's and we really don't see anything about them, but don't have these traits for your main household people or your side household people. Another thing is, I'm not going to be playing with any CC mods, MC Command Center, like, I'm not going to be playing with any of that, okay? So, if you're not playing with any of that either, you can, if you have those things, you can play with them. I just didn't make this challenge to be around any of that stuff, so you're not going to see any mods or any tabs to see any of the CCs or anything like that, okay? I'm not using any. I am simply just using what I have and creating people off of that, okay? If you're not playing with any of that, you won't have the option to kill babies, infants, toddlers, or children. So the way that you can get rid of the babies is you can go to debug, which you'll have to press on. If you're playing on your Xbox, press all four of your bumpers and your control, like, key things. Just, like, hit all of those. I am playing on my laptop, but it's still going to be underneath my Xbox account. The only reason why I'm not getting it on my laptop is because I don't feel like restarting over and paying, like, thousands and thousands of dollars to get all of my Sims packs that I already have. Like, I'm not doing that. So with babies, you can go to the debug category, and again, if you're playing on the Xbox, you can just press all of those things that you have your first and your middle finger on. Just press all four of them, and you can pull up the debug. I don't know about PlayStation 5 or whatever, PlayStation. I don't know any of that stuff. But you can go to the debug and press neglect, and then your baby will get taken away. Infants and toddlers and children, you can add them to another household and then delete them. Teens and elders, you can just choose to open up the kill by opening up the debug category and just press the whatchamacallit, kill by rabbits or whatever. But the downfalls with babies, infants, and toddlers and children, I don't know about the children, but the babies, toddlers, and infants, they will get taken out of your family tree. So just keep that in mind, that I'm going to show you down a little farther down that you can keep a family tree too. But if you don't, then they're just going to get taken out of your family tree on The Sims. And it will, like, literally look like they don't even exist. Wars, death, and sickness. With any battle, you're going to roll a d10 for any male, teen, through adult to see if your sim gets drafted through the war. Odds, go to war, even stay home. If they get drafted to war, then you roll a d20. Oh, shoot. I've done Grammarly about 100 different times throughout this whole thing, so if you guys see, like, any underlined things, it's probably things that Grammarly has already fixed and is just choosing to go back and fix it again. I'm not doing it. I did it for like 2 to 3 days straight, and I'm not doing it. So, getting drafted, if your sim gets drafted to war, say they roll like a 3 and they get drafted to war, then you'll have to roll a d20 to see if they live through the war/battle. If your sim rolls a 5, 10, 15, or 20, your sim does not survive. With any sickness, if you want to try to save them one last time, you can roll a d12, and if they get a 6 or a 12, your sim does not die, or does not survive. For any of the life stages, which we already talked about, child through adult, they don't have them, because of all of the rate, the wars, that they're going to be playing through. We're not going to go over this, but this is the financial crisis, the Roaring Twenties, and Prohibition, the Great Depression. I'll end up talking about this in my next episode. And then the family tree, this is where we're going to leave off on. The family tree is not necessary, but it's very helpful to see your generations and who is related to who while you're playing. There's 2 links below right here. If you press on the blue, there's links right there. This website, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is the easiest website that I have found. I think it's the one that Morbid Gamer used. I'm not sure. But I literally just looked up family tree generator or simulator or whatever, and it popped up with this one, and it is the easiest one by far to use. Let's go over to it really quick, and then this is where we're gonna end. So basically, this is the little generation of family. So basically, let's go into edit my details right here, and you can give the person a name, surname, before they got married, and like you can give them what their last name is now and then what their last name was. You can do all of that. You can give them a gender, female, male, or other. You can give them a birthday. You can even press if that person is alive or not alive. And if you press the little button for this person is not alive and you uncheck the box, it will also give you a death date. And that will be helpful towards like second generation. You can also give them like a little biography. You can give them all of their interests, their activities, like hobbies that they like to do, bio notes, their companion. You can give them like a friend that they were friends with, a profession, birthplace, like you can do whatever you want. And then you can give them a partner, an ex-partner, brother, sister, child, second parents, like if their parents got married again. You can really just do whatever you want. This one though is my decades save, so if you press on this one, this link right here will send you to that link, but this link right here will send you to your own, so you can create your own. But I think that is it. Yeah. Let's just go right up to the top here. But I think that's it for right now. I hope that you guys enjoyed me talking about rules for the last like 30 minutes, but I hope that you guys have a great day. And I can't wait to get into decades and doing more with this challenge. So please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to see more about this challenge. Thank you, and I will see you all in the next. Bye.